Hello, you wonderful cat people of the internet. I'm D, also known as MTF Doom, and today we're going to talk about the changes to Zabu, what it means contextually for the decks that you're going to play him in, and how to take advantage of this new form that we have. I hope you enjoy. So before we get into it, we are at 90 subscribers. I'm shooting for 100 and then I'm shooting for more, but we're at 90. And I'm gonna be real with you. You could be the one to get me to 100. You listening to this right now could be the one. We make daily Marvel Snap content. So far it's been daily. I gave myself an out. I said almost daily Marvel Snap content in my intro. It has been daily so far. Help me keep up the pace. It's so nice seeing that number go up. I love incremental games, and this is basically just a long-form incremental game, okay? I'm winning at YouTube Clicker right now. So, if you haven't seen, Zabu got changed. Zabu used to be a 3-2. He's now a 2-2, so you cost 1 less. His ongoing used to be your 4-cost cards cost 2 less, minimum 1. Now it is your 4-cost cards cost 1 less, minimum 1. So the ongoing is worse, but importantly, he comes down on turn 2. And that's really important. It changes Zabu's use cases significantly, as far as I'm concerned. And while it isn't better, it isn't worse either. It is just different. It's worse if you're only playing him the same way you were playing him. But what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be playing him in decks where you want your 4-drop early, because he couldn't actually ramp you into 4-drops before. Now he can, and you still get 2 4s on turn 6. You used to get 3, which was quite good, but now you can still get 2, and if you copy him, you can still get the cost reduction, and there's all kinds of cool stuff we're going to go over. But we need to keep that in mind going forward, that while this is strictly a worse effect, it is not strictly a worse card, because the surrounding aspects of it have actually changed, okay? So we're going to get into it. Ooh, number 5. I'm cheating. Number 5 is Shang-Chi and Enchantress. Now, you were probably playing both of these regardless. And if you were playing Zabu already, Shang-Chi and Enchantress say that 5 times fast. Comment down below if you said it 5 times fast. Shang-Chi and Enchantress were probably in your Zabu deck anyway. It would make a lot of sense for that to be the case. But I'm here to point out that the way in which you are going to utilize them is going to be a little different now. And you are now going to be relying on the fact that you can play more 2 and 1 cost tech cards, because the Zabu decks before were going really hard on Domino, Zabu, all 4-drops, right? And now because you're able to play these without going quite so hard on all in on Zabu, the ability to also play something like a Scorpion or a Scarlet Witch on just the same turn as a Shang or an Enchantress, and have that be turn 5 and still maybe be able to play out a 6-drop, right? We're focusing more on the fact that our turn 3, 4, and 5 are going to be more efficient with a Zabu out. And then on 6, we might play 2 4s, or we might just play a 6-drop. So it's going to actually change our deck building significantly. But that's what I say. It's not necessarily worse. It is just different. But it is important to point out that the use case of these 2 cards have now changed in that deck. But being able to deploy both on turn 6 is also a huge advantage. And I know, you could do that before plus another 4-drop, but, you pee with the dick you got, as they say. So, these... I don't know if that's going to make the final cut. So these two are still some of the best cards you can be playing at all, but they're some of the best cards you can be playing in a Zabu deck. But they have not significantly been improved, like the rest of this list has been actually kind of improved by the Zabu change. Okay.
A number 4.
Moon Girl. So Moon Girl, again, was quite good in the Zabu deck for the reasons I outlined before. The fact that most of those decks were like, you know, a 2-drop, maybe a couple 2-drops, Zabu, and all 4-drops, and Moon Girl being able to copy your hand and then deploy basically all your 4-drops, you know, play out like 7 4-drops over the course of the game. It was quite good. Again, this is a different use case, and it's going to be the, you know, Quinjet is going to be an important part of this, obviously, but even just having a bunch of like interactive utility creatures that you now have 2 copies of on turn 3. So going into turn 4, you can double deploy Scorpions and then eat them with Carnages or something. You know, going into 5. All of that is like already good. And if you have the Quinjet already, you get the discount, and you can kind of get this like stacking Zabu discount where like, yeah, your 4s are only discounted by 1, but then everything you Moon Girled is also discounted by 1. But then also, you know, maybe you just make a copy of Quinjet, and then on like 4, you deploy 2 Quinjets and like a Sentinel, and now you have like 2 Quinjets and your Sentinel's free on top of whatever your other plays are every turn. And there's all kinds of like interesting lines that I can conceive of, but I don't really have a deck in mind, which is why this is coming in so low on the list. It's more conceptual, but again, I think it sort of fundamentally changes how you look at this card in the Zabu list, and I think that that's much more important than the actual Zabu effect being nerfed. And if we can conceptualize this and take advantage of it, we can still have a lot of success with that list.
Oh, number 3.
Wong. Yes. Okay, now we're getting into the heavy hitters. So the top 3 cards on this list are all going to have one thing in common, and it is that the earlier they come down, the more chance you have of winning. Wong on 3 is really, really good. The earlier you can Wong, the better. Because every, you know, most cards are functionally meant, you know, they're balanced around having their on reveal make them good enough to play, right? Like, if Ironheart hits 3 cards with her on reveal and is like functionally a 3/6 with, you know, kind of added steps, you're quite happy with a 3/6. But like when Ironheart is a 3/12, you are incredibly happy. And Wong on 3 just gives you more chances to get that value out of those cards. And it's just really good. And again, this isn't something you could have done before, right? This is where the new Zabu actually shines. Because before, while you could go Zabu 3 and then like Wong Jessica Jones 4 or something, you couldn't go Wong 3. And that's really important because Wong 3 is way better than Wong Jessica Jones 4. It's very different, but it's very, very powerful. And again, it means you don't really have to play a whole deck full of 4-drops. It means you just have to play important 4-drops that if you can play out on turn 3, or if you can play at 3 cost on 6, right? Again, a Wong plus an Ironheart on 6 is also quite good, right? It's 14 power, but spread over, you know, a number of at random, which isn't quite so good, but most 6-drops are 12 power. So like this is slightly above rate, and it's just different. It's harder to predict, but it has the additional upside of possibly coming down on 3 and getting repeated value. So that's why Wong comes in at number 3.
Number 2.
Sandman. Old friend of the channel, Sandman. If you don't know the lore, the deep lore, the Deeb lore, my friends call me Deeb. It's a whole thing. So the Deeb lore, is that the first deck we built, funny enough, on this channel was called Quicksand, and it was completely based around trying to get Sandman out on turn 3 using Psylocke. And funny enough, it was meant to beat the Zabu decks, because we were thinking they were going to just try to play a bunch of 4-cost cards over and over every turn. And if you Sandman on 3 when they Zabu, they just don't have an out, right? Like they suddenly have to spend a whole turn just Enchantressing, and then if you're in the same lane, your Sandman's in their Zabu lane, that Enchantress doesn't work anyway. So, funny enough, we've come full circle and gone from Sandman being the out to beat Zabu to Sandman being the deck you play Zabu in, and it's just funny how the world works. This is, again, like the last card, this is a card that the earlier you play it, the better off you are. If you have to wait till 4 to play Sandman, it's usually kind of a beating, because 4-cost cards kind of skyrocket in power. If you're looking at it like as a graph, if your opponent plays a 3, it might only be like a 3-4, right? And you're 4-1, if you can ramp this out on 3, isn't that bad. But if your opponent plays a 4, and it's like functionally a 4-8, and you played a 4-1, you got a lot of work to do to catch up. You better hope Sandman really shuts that deck down. So that's why Sandman's only number 2, but just wait till you see the next one.
Ooh, number 1.
That's right, it's Mr. Negative. Just like the other two, the last 2 cards we talked about, the earlier you get this down, the more likely you are to win. The best play in a Mr. Negative deck is Psylocke into Mr. Negative on 3. We now just have a second chance at that apple, right? We got a second bite at it. And I think that's going to make this deck, which is my favorite deck by a really wide margin, way better. I already have something brewed up. It's probably going to be tomorrow's video. This is the card you want to play with Zabu now. Now, it does give you the negative, like, Zabu, we were playing Mr. Negative in the Zabu, like, and Zabu together already before, because we were playing a Surfer shell, and Surfer and Zabu are both now kind of worse in Mr. Negative decks, but I think we're going to stick to Zabu in Negative anyway. I think that it's probably the best thing you can be doing. The other thing is you want to play Wong in that deck regardless, and so now you have 2 really good turn 3 hits, right? Wong and Negative. You can't really play Sandman in the deck, but because you have 2 of the best cards for Zabu to ramp you into, and you want to play them in the best, like, in that deck anyway, I think this deck's going to be notably better right now. I think this deck is already quite good, and I think it's going to get, I just think it's going to get real good. So that's it. No bonus content. That's what you get for today. It's I know it's a little on the short side, but there's not that much to say. I hope that you have found this content elucidating, enlightening, and enriching. I hope that all of it made sense and was easy to understand why. I'm not going to argue that this version of Zabu is better, but I will argue that in some cases it is, that it was not strictly a nerf, and that if we don't get locked into these thought patterns that are really, it's really easy to get locked into them, right? A deck worked so well forever, and then something got changed, and you're like, well, the deck will still probably be okay, and you don't really think about it. You know, oh, well, it got nerfed. That's okay. The deck was too good. It got nerfed. I mean, I hope we're all intellectually honest enough to know that it was too good and that the nerf was fine. But, you know, try not to bellyache about it too much if you're not okay with it. But I hope we've gone over today why this is so interesting. It's very good for the game, and it's a much more interesting card to play with and probably against. That, you know, remains to be seen. I haven't seen Zabu on the ladder at all yet, but I am just in the 50s. So, oh yeah, that's right. I was going to make this joke that we're running in the 90s, but not rank-wise, only subscriber-wise. We are, I know I mentioned that we're at 90. I think actually it might be 91 by the end of this recording, funny enough. And you can help me get to 100, as I already said. Let's do a top 10 countdown of people who subscribed to get me to 100 subscribers or something. I don't know. Listen, offer still on the table if you want to shout out. Just say something in the comments. You leave really nice comments, like, pretty regularly, and I really appreciate it, but no one has taken me up on this offer yet to get shouted out personally for having subscribed. So, let's do that once. I don't know. Thank you all so much for being here, for supporting, and for listening to me ramble all the way at the end here. There might be a card on the screen that says the next video you will like by YouTube standards. There might not, depending on if I put it there. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow.